Hello students, welcome to the lecture series on VLSI design. This is Professor Meenakshi Tursi, Department of ECE, KLS VDIT, Haldia. In previous lecture, we studied inverter delay calculation, rise time and fall time. So in this lecture, we will study driving large capacitive loads and super buffers, that is inverting super buffer and non-inverting super buffer. So we'll begin with the first concept, that is driving large capacitive load. So the problem of driving these large capacitive load arises when the signal has to travel from chip to off-the-chip destination. So off-chip capacitance is of very high order, somewhere around 10 to the 4 times of square Cg. So for 5 micrometer technology, 1 Cg is 0.01 picofarad. So 10 raised to 4 into 0.01 picofarad gives you 1000 picofarad. So such a huge capacitance value will result in more delay. As you know, delay equals to R into C. More the C, more the delay. More the delay, less the performance of the system. So capacitances of this order must be driven through low resistance value. Otherwise, long delay will occur. So the solution is to use a cascaded inverter drivers to drive huge capacitive load with the pull up and pull down resistance of very low value. So as you know, resistance is given by Rs into L by W. So resistance is directly proportional to L by W. So if you want to reduce the delay, you need to reduce R into C value. That is the RC product. So resistance is directly proportional to L by W. So if you want to reduce the resistance, you need to have low L is to W ratio. So in order to drive large capacitive load, we can use cascaded inverter drivers, but with low resistance. So low resistance means low L is to W ratio. So resistance is proportional to L by W. So lower the resistance, lower the L is to W ratio. But for a technology, length cannot be reduced below minimum value. For example, for 180 nanometer technology, the minimum length is 180 nanometer. For 90 nanometer technology, minimum length is 90 nanometer. Similarly, for 45 nanometer technology, minimum length is 45 nanometer. So we cannot reduce L below minimum value. But if we want to reduce the delay, we need to reduce the RC product, as delay equals to R into C. So since length cannot be reduced below minimum value, if you want to reduce the resistance, we need to increase the width. That is, W has to be increased. See, R inversely proportional to width. To have minimum R value, we need to increase the width. Minimum resistance, minimum delay. So to have lower resistance, W is increased. But if you increase W, we end up having a device which occupies larger area. That is, if width is increased, the chip area is increased. And if the width is increased, then the input capacitance is large, which in turn will slow down the rate of change of voltage which can take place at input. Hence, the remedy is to use N cascaded inverters, each one of which is larger than the preceding stage by width factor F. The succeeding stages are larger by factor f compared to the preceding stage. So the first inverter, since these are NMOS inverters, so the first inverter has a ratio of 4:1. That is, pull up to pull down ratio is 4:1. The succeeding inverters are increased by a factor of f. So 4:f by 1:f, pull up to pull down. Next stage increased by a factor of f again. So 4:f square, pull up, 1:f square, pull down. So in order to have low resistance value, so that we can reduce the delay, we end up having higher W value, which in turn will increase the chip area. So width factor is increasing by a factor of f towards the last stage. Now both f and n can be complementary. If f for each stage is larger, the number of stages reduces, but delay per stage will increase. Therefore, it is essential to optimize the design. So we'll fix n value and then we'll find the minimum value of f. So for NMOS inverters, so we know that delay for NMOS inverter is 5 tau. 4 tau plus 1 tau is 5 tau. Similarly, for CMOS inverter pair, the delay is 7f tau. So we have solved these examples in the previous lecture. For NMOS inverters, delay is 5 tau. For CMOS, it is 7 tau. So with large f, n decreases, but delay per stage will increase. So for NMOS, delay is 5 tau. For CMOS, it is 7 tau. Therefore, Y equals to CL by square CG. CL is the output load capacitance, that is the off-chip capacitance, divided by the input capacitance, that is square CG, equals to F raised to N. So this will give you N equals to Ln of Y by Ln of F. So N is nothing but the number of inverters to be cascaded to drive a capacitive load CL, which is of huge value. So thus, if N is even, total delay for NMOS is 2.5 times of NF tau. For CMOS, it is 3.5 times of NF tau. And if F assumes the value of E, that is 2.7, then the delay can be minimized to drive large capacitive loads. Thus, assuming F is E, then number of stages is Ln of Y, and if N is even, then delay is 2.5 into E n tau for NMOS, 3.5 E n tau for CMOS. And these are the expressions for delay if N is odd. So in cascaded inverters, the width factor was increasing by a factor of F for the succeeding stages. Hence, because of the asymmetry of these inverters, it gives rise to delay problem. When an inverter is used to drive more significant capacitive loads. Hence, the solution is to use super buffers in NMOS technology. So we have two types of super buffers. Inverting type, that is V out will be V in bar. Non-inverting type, where V out will be equal to V in value. So first, we'll study inverting type NMOS super buffer. So consider Vin equals to 1. So when Vin is 1, T2 on, even T4 is on. T4 on, T2 on, when input is 1. T1 is also on since it is a depletion device. As you know, these are NMOS inverters. So ratio is 4:1. Pull up ratio is 4, pull down ratio is 1. So since pull down has less delay, the output node will be pulled to 0. So 0 is fed to T3 transistor. Since Vin was 1, T2 and T4 will turn on instantly, and hence Vout will be pulled to ground. When Vin is 0, both T2 and T4 both are off. Depletion device T1 is on. Since T1 is on, the first stage output will be VDD. So VDD is fed as input to T3 device. So this depletion device turns on at 0, but now the available voltage at gate of T3 is VDD, which is greater than 0, which is almost twice the average voltage required. Since T3 is on, Vout will be shorted to VDD. So we'll get Vout as logic 1. But since we have higher gate voltage at T3, we'll have more current. So hence the increase in current will reduce the delay in charging the capacitance at output node. Similarly, non-inverting buffer. So in non-inverting buffer, when input is 1, T2 is in on state, T1 is in on state, since it is pull down device. But as pull up to pull down ratio for NMOS inverter is 4:1. Pull up ratio is 4, that is delay is 4 tau. Pull down ratio is 1, delay is 1 tau. Since pull down has less delay, Vin 1, pull up on, pull down on, ratio is 4:1. Pull down has less delay, hence the output of a first stage will be 0. Both sections are on, but since pull down has less delay, the output node will be pulled towards ground. Hence T4 device will be in off state. T3 is connected to Vin, so T3 gate is at VDD. So depletion device, this device is on, hence Vout will be shorted to VDD. So Vout will be logic 1. So you can observe input is 1, you are getting output as 1. That is a non-inverting state. Similarly, if input is 0, T2 is off state, T1 is on state, T1 is on. So first stage output is VDD, which is fed to T4, that is logic 1. So T4 is on. This T3 depletion device is on, but since it is an NMOS inverter, ratio is 4:1. This is pull up ratio 4, pull down ratio is 1. So pull down has less delay, 1 tau, pull up has 4 tau as a delay. Since pull down has less delay, V out will be shorted to ground. So V out will be 0. So when V in is 0, you are getting output as 0, again a non-inverting state. So thank you.